Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I'm your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now, the winter time in the United Kingdom can be a rather tedious time of year if you don't like the cold and the chilly and the wet and the damp. Actually, I pretty much enjoy it personally because I enjoy, dressing up in my overcoats and pea coats and scarves and gloves. It just makes me feel as if I'm beating the elements. But my darling wife, Rachel, she is not a fan at all of the cold time of year. So around about this time of year, well, a couple of weeks ago, February, we tend to look around the world for places which are a little warmer, where that big fiery ball in the sky is just a little bit closer to Earth, where you can get a bit of vitamin D in the sunlight. And for quite a few years now, we have found ourselves heading to the Middle East because it's about 7 hours flying time from the UK and you pretty much guarantee 30 degrees Celsius every day in the sort of February period during the school holidays. So over the years we've been to Abu Dhabi, Dubai and various other places there. And as I say, just very recently, we took that trip. We flew over there just the other week. And what a wonderful experience it is to leave the drab cold behind and head into the sun. Our trip took us initially to one of the lesser known Emirates of the UAE, a place called Ras Al Khaimah, which is a little bit less developed than the more populous areas like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but you get fantastic sort of coastal resort hotels, and we had a lovely 5-6 days there. Then we transferred to Dubai. Now, if you've never been to Dubai, you may have heard of it. It's kind of become the Las Vegas of the Middle East. Its skyline resembles something from a Blade Runner movie, I have to admit, and particularly at night time. And the area, the city, has been on a race to become this very popular, very trendy, wealth-riddled location. There's a huge amount of wealth in the Gulf states. Obviously, the United Arab Emirates, it's nestled between Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of money there. And that is clearly apparent when you walk down the streets and stay in these wonderful hotels. And I have to say, the way that conspicuous wealth reveals itself to you tends to be the same wherever you live in the world. You'll see Ferraris and Porsches and Aston Martins on the road. And of course, for those of us who enjoy the horological world, you will see some fantastic wristwatches. And I have to say, I have never seen so many expensive wristwatches in one place. We were staying in a hotel called the La Royal Meridian, right on the seafront in Jumeirah, right next to the Palm, and a fabulous hotel, by the way. It's one of the nicest hotels I've ever stayed in. But one of the pools which were available to us as patrons was a pool with a swim-up bar. So, as I was indulging in all of the holiday activities, I would go for a swim and swim up to the bar and have a beer or whatever. And of course, you would look at all the other patrons who were doing the same as you. And because, of course, we're all in a state of undress, you could see what they were wearing on their wrists. And I have to tell you, I have never seen so many Rolex watches in one place other than in a Rolex authorized dealer. And in fact, that's not even true these days. You won't even see a Rolex in an AD. But, I remember sitting at the bar just one day. Also sitting at the bar, there was a lady sat next to me who had a Rolex Submariner Hulk, the full green model. Further down, there were two Daytonas, a stainless steel with a black dial and a two-tone with a white dial. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I pretty much saw every watch from the Rolex collection at some point or another. And Rolex was absolutely the wristwatch of choice. And I think everybody loves wearing them in the pool because, of course, your Rolex can deal with that, but also it's the only chance you get to flex when you're in the water, just wearing a swimming trunks. Your watch becomes, your physical demonstration of your financial worth to the world. Now, it's pointless to people like me. I'm an ordinary guy. I'm not trying to show off. Incidentally, I did wear my black Rolex Submariner on my trip to Dubai because I knew I'd be in the water every day. and that was a watch which I knew was the perfect performer for that situation. Now, another advantage to the UAE, as I guess most of the Gulf states are, is that safety is absolute. All right, there is immense security in that part of the world. Crime is negligible, and you can wear your expensive wristwatch all day in any situation without fear of being mugged or parted from it in any way. It is simply one of the safest parts of the world. I mean, I read the newspaper when I was there, and there were articles in the national newspaper in which the police were giving accounts of where they had caught shoplifters. Now, national newspapers and the police reporting on shoplifting, it tells you of the level of crime. Any other part of the world, a homicide barely makes the newspapers. In the United Arab Emirates, population of I think 10 million people, shoplifting offences make the paper. They're that infrequent. So you can wear your watch wherever you like. Now, while I was in town, of course, one of the things you have to do when you're in Dubai is engage in some shopping, because it's one of the shopping capitals of the world. And it has two fabulous places, the Mall of the Emirates and Dubai Mall. Dubai Mall, I believe, at one point or another, was the largest shopping mall in the world. And I have to say, having visited there, it is immense. You could drive around the place and it would take all day. And of course, it's set in the shadow of the Burj Khalifa, which is the largest structure and building in the world. I mean, it's half a mile high straight up, and that looms over the Mall of Dubai. You can barely see the top of it. You know, it's a remarkable testament to human engineering. And this is the sort of setting that you find when you walk into the mall. Now, if you're a watch lover, you are in heaven, because pretty much every watchmaker has a boutique or an authorized dealer in the Dubai Mall or the Mall of the Emirates. And, you know, for me, living in a sort of provincial part of the United Kingdom, I don't get the opportunity to see these very often. You know, if you walk down Bond Street in London, all of those watch boutiques are obviously in evidence there. London's one of the largest metropolitan cities in the world, with a lot of money as well. But where I live, I rarely get to see these things. But in the Mall of Dubai, there was everything from Richard Mille with watches on display, you know, Patek Philippe, the whole gamut of watches there. Of particular note, I could, you know, just talk about all of them because I've visited many of them, but of particular relevance, I went into the Rolex authorized dealer and there was nothing but empty display cases. Nothing at all. Nothing. There were a couple of display pieces at the back. In fact, it was the first time I actually got eyeball on the new Deep Sea Challenge watch, that 50mm hockey puck of a watch, which Rolex brought out at the end of last year in titanium. And my God, what a monster. Displayed next to a Submariner, the thing looked comical in size. So, you know, it was interesting to see it. But talking to the sales agent in the Rolex authorized dealer, I said, what's it like? You know, do you get many watches in? And she said, yeah, we do get quite a few. Obviously, it's you know, they can shift any number of watches there because of the wealth in the area. But she said, about 90% of our watches go to people on our waiting lists, and approximately 10% come in and go on display. But at that day that I visited, there was nothing on display. Zero, zilch, nada at all. So bit of an example really of how Rolex dominates the watch market, but how it's impossible to actually own one. In fact, I'm wearing one today, Rolex Datejust, so one of my favourites actually. From there, I visited a number of other stores, went to the Audemars Piguet boutique, and went in, and they actually had a Royal Oak with a blue dial on display, and I'd never seen one in the flesh, and it was absolutely glorious. But one of the things you get in Dubai is a really high level of engagement with the sales agents, because they're happy to stop and have a chat, and you know, they can't sell you a watch, they don't have one in the store to give away, you know, to sell you. But they don't know, you may come in the next day, you could be a multi-millionaire. They want to ingratiate themselves with everyone who walks in through the door, and if you're a Westerner, obviously in appearance, you know, they know a lot of Westerners are there spending money. They're happy to engage and chat. So it was lovely to see these watches, which are mythical, really, in the world today. You never get to see them. But they were on display only, of course, the Royal Oak. But lovely, lovely watch. I'm very interested and fascinated with that one. But for me, probably the highlight of my visit, other than, looking at the A. Lange & Söhne and all of the other watch brands, which you just simply don't get to see in normal life, was my trip to the Jaeger-LeCoultre store, the JLC store. Now, for a long time, I've been wrangling with the thought of getting a JLC Reverso into my collection. I want a nice classical dress watch, and I like rectangular watches. Been tossing up between Cartier and Jaeger-LeCoultre. So going into the store, I was made to feel incredibly welcome. They pulled out all the watches for me. I tried numerous ones on. They were happy for me to photograph them, and had a lovely chat with the sales agent where we talked about, watches. Very knowledgeable individual. And then he invited me to come back the following day because Jaeger-LeCoultre were hosting a special exhibition over the month of February in the Mall of Dubai. And in fact, the exhibition, which I have the handbook for here, was called the Stellar Odyssey. Now, they'd taken over a sort of barge on the ornamental lake, which is outside the Mall of Dubai, and it was an invitation-only event where you would go in and you would walk through this exhibition, which featured many, many watches from the backstory, the archive of Jaeger-LeCoultre. There were documents relating to previous customers. It was fascinating to see the names of, people who'd bought watch movements, other brands in the past. And then the highlight of it was to go into this sort of planetarium where you would sat down, and on the ceiling was projected this digital show, which related to the heavens, the Stellar Odyssey, as it was called, talking about how horology is linked to the movement of stars and so on. I guess relating to the complications which JLC have had in the past around, the moon phases and things like that. Very, very interesting. Not one time did they try and sell anything or push a watch on me at all. It was merely an opportunity for JLC to revel in their history and their place in the horological world. So yeah, it was a fascinating experience. And just seeing all of these watch brands, all of these watch collections, indulging in the horological world, I really loved it. And then, having done all that in the mall, to go back to the hotel, jump in the pool, and you're watch spotting all of the other people who were swimming around. Yes, I know it's conspicuous wealth, and it's something you wouldn't do in Spain or Portugal, perhaps. But when you're in Dubai, you've got to, behave like the Romans, so to speak. And when you walk down the street, there's a Ferrari every other car. You can afford to wear your wristwatch in the pool and not flex, but enjoy it, because particularly with a Rolex, you can wear it in the pool. That's part of the appeal of having a rugged, adventurous watch. And you can actually pretend that you're doing that because you're diving in and out of the water and having a barrel of laughs, and you've got your favourite watch on your wrist as well. So that's just a little bit of my experience just recently visiting the UAE, particularly Dubai. If you are a watch lover, it's definitely a place to go. If you're a watch lover who wants to buy a watch, probably not going to find what you want because they simply cannot get them. Now, I could have bought a JLC. They did have them in stock. It's not that popular a watch. Can you get a bargain? Well, having entered into a conversation in which I probably appeared to be keen, the authorised dealer, the sales agent, said to me that he would offer me a 5% discount off their retail price. And he would also throw in an additional strap, a leather strap, into the deal. And of course, never forget, it's a tax advantageous position or place to buy as well. In the UK, value-added tax is 20%. In Dubai, I believe sales tax is 5%. So you have a slight advantage when it comes to purchasing anyway. But I thought that was pretty good. If I was in the market to buy one, that would have been a good opportunity. Sadly, I'm not in the market right now. I simply don't have cash to be splashing in such a way, and the holiday cost a bloody arm and a leg anyway, so to buy a watch would have been sort of unconscionable. But it was really great to see. So there we go. I hope it's been helpful, maybe useful, maybe just interesting for you. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, click the red button and subscribe. Contribute by leaving a comment in the comment section below, and you can support us by buying me a coffee or even joining our channel as a patron, and you'll find the link to my Patreon account in the show notes below, where I provide additional content on the life of the chap. So until the next time, wear your watches with pride, passion and accuracy, and I will see you again very soon.